My dear friend, Ruth began, her voice calm but firm. Being skilled at making customers' hair is only half the journey. The real success comes when they choose to return again and again. That night, Deborah lay awake, a troubling thought taking root in her mind. She became determined to make her customers return to her salon at all costs, even if it meant crossing dangerous lines.
What if the person you trusted most with your beauty was secretly poisoning you for profit? Imagine walking into a salon, excited about your new hairstyle. The stylist's hands are gentle. Her smile is warm. Everyone praises her work. But 3 days later, your scalp is on fire. You're scratching until you bleed. Your hair is falling out in clumps. And you have no idea that the woman you paid, the woman you recommended to your friends, the woman you trusted, is the one who caused it all. This is the true story of how one talented hairstylist's desperate need for success led her down a dark path that shocked an entire community. It's a story about ambition, survival, and the dangerous line between hustling and harming others. Stay with me until the end, because what happened to her could teach us all a powerful lesson about the price of shortcuts. But before we dive in, if you love real-life stories with deep lessons, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happens next. Now, let's begin. Before Deborah owned her own salon, before the praise and the customers and the money, she was nobody. Just another apprentice girl sweeping floors and washing hair in someone else's dream. She worked under a woman named Miriam, a popular stylist in the neighborhood who owned the biggest salon on Market Street. Everyone knew Miriam. Her shop was always packed. Women waited for hours just to sit in her chair. Miriam had money, respect, and a reputation that reached 3 neighborhoods away. Deborah believed that if she worked hard enough, if she stayed long enough, she would learn Miriam's secrets. She would become like her. Maybe even better. She was wrong. For 4 long years, Deborah swept floors, washed hair, and ran errands. 4 years of watching other girls get trained while she stayed in the background. 4 years of hoping that tomorrow would be the day Miriam would finally let her touch a real customer's hair. But that day never came. Miriam didn't trust her. Or maybe she didn't care. Whenever Deborah asked to learn a new technique, Miriam would snap at her. "You're not ready yet. If I let you near my customers, you'll ruin everything I've built. Just focus on what I tell you to do." Meanwhile, other apprentices who started months after Deborah were already braiding hair on weekends. They made small money. They bought new clothes, new phones, and talked about their future salons. Deborah could only watch and swallow her jealousy. She couldn't complain. She couldn't quit. Her family needed her. Deborah's mother, Naomi, sold akra by the roadside every morning, rain or shine. Her hands were rough from years of frying bean cakes in hot oil. Her back ached from bending over the stall. And still, the money was never enough. Deborah's younger brother, Samuel, was sickly. He caught fevers often. Sometimes he coughed so hard at night that the whole house stayed awake. Medicine was expensive. Food was expensive. Everything was expensive. So Deborah stayed. She endured Miriam's insults, the long hours, the empty promises. She told herself that one day, all of this suffering would be worth it. One day she would be free. Then, without warning, everything fell apart. It was the rainy season. The roads were muddy. Business was slow. And one morning, Miriam didn't show up to the salon. The apprentices waited. Hours passed. No Miriam. Finally, her sister came to the shop and announced that Miriam had fallen seriously ill. The doctors said she needed to rest for at least 2 months. Maybe longer. "The salon is closed until she recovers," the sister said. "She'll call you all when she's ready to reopen." That was it. No goodbye. No payment. No plan. The other apprentices grumbled but moved on. Some found temporary work elsewhere. Some went back to their villages. But Deborah had nowhere to go. She went home that evening and sat outside her mother's small apartment, staring at the muddy street. The weight of hopelessness pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone. For years. 4 years of sacrifice. And for what? Tears rolled down her face, hot and silent. She didn't wipe them away. She let them fall. Her mother came outside and sat beside her. Naomi didn't say anything at first. She just placed a hand on Deborah's shoulder and let her cry. Finally, after a long silence, Naomi spoke. "Deborah, you've been waiting for Miriam to release you for 4 years. You've been waiting for her to certify you, to bless you, to give you permission to be great. But maybe you don't need her permission." Deborah looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Naomi said gently, "if you know how to do the work, why are you still waiting? You've watched her for 4 years. You've braided hair at home. You've practiced on your cousins, your friends, even on me. You're ready, my daughter. You just don't believe it yet." Deborah shook her head. "But I don't have money for a shop. I don't have customers. I don't have anything." "You have your hands," Naomi said. "You have your talent. And you have faith. Sometimes that's all you need to start." Those words settled deep in Deborah's heart. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay awake on her thin mattress, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what her mother said. Maybe she didn't need Miriam. Maybe she didn't need a big shop or expensive equipment. Maybe she just needed to start. By the end of the week, Deborah had made her decision. She gathered every bit of money she had saved over the years. It wasn't much. Just a small pile of crumpled Naira notes she had hidden in an old biscuit tin under her bed. She counted it 3 times. It was barely enough. But it was something. With that small amount, Deborah rented a tiny wooden shop along a busy street corner. It was old, dusty, and barely big enough for 2 people to stand in. The roof leaked when it rained. The door didn't lock properly. But it was hers. She swept it clean. She scrubbed the walls. She arranged one small mirror she bought from the market. She borrowed a hairdryer from a neighbor. She bought basic supplies: combs, hair cream, thread, attachments. Nothing was fancy. Nothing was perfect. But it was a beginning. She painted a sign herself, carefully writing each letter. Deborah's Hair Palace, neat and affordable. She nailed it above the door, stepped back, and smiled for the first time in months. This was hers. This was her dream. On opening day, she woke up before sunrise, dressed in her best clothes, and walked to the shop with her heart pounding. She unlocked the door, turned on the light, and sat down in the plastic chair, waiting. She didn't know if anyone would come. She didn't know if this would work. But she was ready to try. And slowly people came. In the first 2 weeks, Deborah braided hair for neighbors, church members, and a few strangers who saw her sign. She worked carefully, braiding each row with precision. She didn't rush. She didn't cut corners. When her customers looked in the mirror, they smiled. "Deborah, your hands are so soft. This is beautiful. I love it. Let me take a picture. You're going to be big one day. I'll come back." Those words made Deborah's heart soar. She believed she had finally found her path. She believed that good work would bring good results. But 3 weeks later, reality hit her like a slap. Not a single customer returned. She waited. Every morning, she opened the shop early and stayed late, hoping to see a familiar face. But no one came back. At first, she thought they were just busy. But then she started seeing them around the neighborhood, at church, at the market, walking past her shop with the same hairstyle she had done weeks ago. When she greeted them, they smiled brightly. "Ah, Deborah, my hair is still so neat. You did such a good job. It's been 3 weeks and I haven't touched it. Your braids last so long." They said it like a compliment, but to Deborah, it felt like a curse. Her work was too good. Her braids lasted too long. People didn't need to return. And if they didn't return, she didn't make money. Soon, the bills started piling up. Rent was due. Products were running low. Her mother needed support. Samuel needed medicine again. Deborah sat alone in the shop one evening, her head resting on the mirror table, staring at her empty hands. She had talent. She had skill. But talent wasn't enough to survive. That night, she remembered something her neighbor, Ruth, had told her months ago when she was still struggling under Miriam. Repeat customers are the secret to survival. If they don't come back, you don't eat. Repeat customers. The words echoed in Deborah's mind like a drumbeat. How do you make them come back? Desperation does strange things to the mind. It makes you think thoughts you never imagined. It makes you consider paths you swore you'd never walk. Deborah started watching other salons. She noticed something disturbing. Some salons were always full, even though their work wasn't as neat as hers. Customers complained about rough braids, tight edges, painful scalps. But they kept coming back. One afternoon, while buying supplies at a beauty shop, she overheard 2 stylists talking. "My customers always come back fast," one said, laughing. "That's because your braids don't last," the other replied. They both laughed. But Deborah didn't. That night, she sat with her mother in their small sitting room. Naomi was tired from a long day at the Accra stall. She didn't know anything was wrong. "Don't give up, Deborah," Naomi said gently. "God will help you." Deborah nodded. But her mind was somewhere else. What if customers came back not because they wanted to, but because they needed to? What if their hair got rough faster? What if their scalp itched sooner? What if they had no choice but to return? Then Deborah remembered something from her days with Miriam. One time, Miriam had thrown away a half-used jar of relaxer, muttering, "This relaxer is too strong. If I use it wrong, it will burn the scalp." A dangerous idea began to form in Deborah's mind. She didn't act on it immediately. She paced around her shop for days, arguing with herself. "This is wrong. But I'm not trying to hurt anyone. This could destroy people's hair. Or it could just make them come back sooner. You'll ruin your reputation." "What reputation? I'm already failing." After 5 silent days with only one customer, the fear became too strong. If she didn't do something, the shop would close. Her dream would die. Her family would suffer. She went to the market and bought a small jar of hair relaxer. Not the gentle kind. The strong kind. She brought it back to her shop, locked the door, and sat staring at it for an hour. Her hands shook as she opened the jar. She mixed a tiny amount into her regular hair cream. Just a little. Just enough to cause mild discomfort. She told herself it wasn't poison. It was strategy. She told herself she wasn't a bad person. She was just trying to survive. She transferred the mixture into an unlabeled container and hid it in her drawer. The next morning, when her first customer came, Deborah braided her hair beautifully. And at the end, she rubbed a small amount of the mixture onto her scalp. "This will make it last longer and stay shiny," she said with a smile. The customer thanked her and left, happy. Deborah locked the shop that night and cried. She had crossed a line. And deep down, she knew there was no going back. 3 days later, it started. "Deborah, Deborah." A woman came rushing into the shop, scratching her head frantically. "My scalp is itching like crazy. Please help me. I don't know what's wrong." Deborah's heart pounded, but she kept her face calm. "Don't worry, sister. Sometimes the scalp reacts to new products. Sit down. Let me redo it for you. The woman paid again. Deborah loosened the braids, washed her hair gently, and rebraided it. But before the woman left, Deborah applied the mixture again. By the end of the week, 3 more customers returned with the same complaint. Itching, burning, discomfort. And every time, Deborah acted surprised, concerned, caring. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Let me fix it. They trusted her. They believed her. They paid her. Within a month, Deborah's shop transformed. Customers came back every few days. Some came twice a week. Her appointment book filled up. Her shelves restocked. Money flowed in like a river. She bought a new standing fan, a bigger mirror, a ring light for photos. She even printed branded bags with her salon name. People in the neighborhood started calling her the caring stylist because she never turned anyone away, no matter how late they came. Deborah sent money home regularly. Her mother prayed for her every night. Samuel's medicine was always available now. The family ate better. Everything looked like success. But Deborah's conscience was rotting. Success is addictive. And when it comes easily, it becomes a drug. Deborah told herself she would stop after a few months. She told herself she'd go back to honest work once the shop was stable. But she didn't stop. She got bolder. If a little mixture brought customers back in 3 days, more mixture would bring them back in 2 days. She started adding more relaxer. Then she experimented with other chemicals meant only for hair strands, not scalps. She convinced herself she was still in control, that nothing serious would happen. But she was wrong. One afternoon, a woman came back crying. Deborah, it's not just itching anymore. It hurts. Please check my scalp. When Deborah loosened the braids, her stomach dropped. There was a small bald patch. The hair had fallen out. It's nothing serious, Deborah said quickly, hiding her panic. You probably scratched too hard. The woman believed her. But the signs kept coming. Another customer had red sores on her scalp. Another found broken hair on her pillow. Another complained of burning pain that wouldn't stop. Still, no one suspected Deborah, until one quiet woman decided to pay attention. Her name was Esther. She wasn't loud. She didn't gossip. She didn't like drama. She came to Deborah's salon because a friend recommended it. Deborah braided her hair beautifully. Esther left happy. But 3 days later, Esther's scalp started burning. She didn't panic. She didn't cry. She simply returned to the salon, calm and observant. My scalp is reacting. Please check it. Deborah acted concerned, but Esther noticed something strange. Deborah didn't look surprised. She looked prepared, like she had been expecting this. Esther didn't say anything. She just watched. She watched how Deborah moved, how she reached for that unlabeled container in the drawer, how she applied it without explaining what it was. Esther paid and left. But she didn't forget. 2 days later, she visited her friend, Mary, and told her what happened. Mary's eyes widened. The same thing happened to me last week. That's when Esther knew. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't bad luck. This was intentional. But instead of confronting Deborah immediately, Esther did something smarter. She waited. Esther and Mary went back to Deborah's salon together. Mary pretended to be a new customer. Esther sat quietly in the corner, pretending to keep her friend company. Deborah welcomed them warmly, not suspecting a thing. As Deborah braided Mary's hair, Esther watched every move. She watched Deborah laugh and chat. She watched her finish the braids beautifully. And then she watched Deborah walk to the small drawer. She watched her pull out that unlabeled white container. She watched her prepare to apply it to Mary's scalp without any explanation. That's when Esther stood up. Stop. The salon went silent. Deborah froze, the container still in her hand. What's inside that cream? Esther asked calmly. Deborah's smile faltered. It's just normal hair cream. Then why isn't it labeled? Esther stepped closer. And why don't you use it on your own hair? Mary's hand flew to her scalp. Wait, is this what you used on me before? Two other customers waiting outside heard the commotion and rushed in. What's happening? What's in that container? The pressure mounted. There was nowhere to run. No lie strong enough to cover the truth. Someone shouted, "Open it! Let us smell it!" Another yelled, "If it's harmless, use it on yourself." Deborah's hands shook. Her breathing quickened. She clutched the container to her chest like a secret she couldn't let go. And then she broke. Tears filled her eyes. Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. Please. I didn't mean to harm anyone." The salon erupted. Screams. Someone ran outside shouting, "Call the police." Within minutes, a crowd gathered. Neighbors, shop owners, passers-by, everyone wanted to know what was happening. Two officers arrived and took Deborah away. Her dream, once filled with hope and praise, was now filled with shame and handcuffs. At the police station, Deborah sat on a hard plastic chair, her eyes swollen from crying, her hands trembling in her lap. She didn't argue. She didn't deny. She just sat there, broken. The officer asked her to explain everything. And she did. She told them about Miriam, about the 4 wasted years, about the struggle to keep her shop alive, about the bills, the hunger, the fear. She told them about Ruth's words, about the relaxer, about the choice she made. She told them everything. When she finished, the officer looked at her with a mixture of pity and disappointment. You wanted success, but you chose the wrong path. In life, shortcuts always come with a price. Deborah lowered her head and wept. Later that evening, Naomi arrived, her face wet with tears, her wrapper clutched tight around her waist. "Deborah, why didn't you tell me you were suffering this much? We would have found another way." Deborah cried harder. "I'm sorry, Mama. I just wanted to help. I didn't want to be a burden anymore." Naomi held her daughter's face in her rough, acre-stained hands. "My child, you were never a burden. Never." After hours of pleading and community intervention, the victims agreed to settle outside of court, on the condition that Deborah would pay for their treatments and never practice such deceit again. Deborah was released, but her reputation was destroyed. The next morning, Ruth came to visit Deborah at home. Deborah was shocked to see her. She stood up quickly, shame flooding her chest. "Ruth, you told me repeat customers are the secret. I was just trying to survive." Ruth stared at her for a long, painful moment. Then she spoke, her voice calm but heavy with disappointment. "Deborah, when I said repeat customers, I meant build trust. Treat people well. Give honest service. Be consistent. Be kind. And they will return because they love you, not because you hurt them." Deborah felt like the ground was opening beneath her. She had followed the words, but she had missed the meaning. Ruth continued, "Yes, business is hard. Yes, survival is tough. But if your success destroys others, it will eventually destroy you too." Those words burned into Deborah's soul. Ruth placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have talent, Deborah. Real talent. But talent without patience becomes poison." Deborah broke down completely. She cried not because she was caught. She cried because she finally understood what she had done. Deborah returned to her shop the next day. She stood outside, staring at the sign. Deborah's Hair Palace, neat and affordable. It felt like a lie now. She climbed on a stool and took the sign down herself. She sat on the dusty floor inside, surrounded by silence and regret. For a week, she didn't open the shop. She just sat there, thinking, praying, crying. One morning, she finally stood up. She swept the floor. She cleaned the mirrors. She threw away every unlabeled container. She bought fresh, honest products. And she wrote a note on a small piece of paper and taped it inside her drawer where only she could see it. No shortcuts. Even if it takes time, I will wait. 2 days later, she opened the shop again. Some people walked past without looking. Some whispered and pointed. Some shook their heads in disgust. But then, one woman stepped inside. She looked around nervously, then sat down. I believe everyone deserves a second chance, she said softly. Can you make my hair? Deborah's eyes filled with tears. She nodded and picked up her comb. She braided that woman's hair with more care than she had ever given anyone. Honest. Gentle. No tricks. No shortcuts. No poison. Just skill. By the end of the month, a few old customers returned. Not many. Not fast. But enough. And this time, they returned because they trusted her. Not because she hurt them. Months passed. Slowly, Deborah rebuilt her reputation. She didn't get rich quickly. She didn't have a packed salon every day. But she had peace. She had honesty. And she had her integrity back. One Sunday, after church, Ruth came to visit her at the shop. Deborah stood up quickly, nervous. But Ruth smiled. I heard you've been doing well, Ruth said. I'm trying, Deborah replied quietly. It's slow. But it's clean. Ruth nodded. Slow and clean is better than fast and dirty. Deborah smiled for the first time in months. Thank you, Ruth. For everything. I'm sorry I misunderstood you. You didn't misunderstand me, Ruth said gently. You were just desperate. And desperation makes us do things we never imagined. But you learned. And that's what matters. Before she left, Ruth turned back and said, Remember this, Deborah, your gift will make room for you. But only if you protect it with integrity. Those words stayed with Deborah forever. Deborah never became the biggest stylist in the city. She never owned multiple branches. She never became famous. But she became something better. She became trusted. Mothers brought their daughters to her. Brides came to her before their weddings. Women recommended her not because she was the cheapest or the fastest, but because she was honest. And that reputation, built slowly and carefully, was worth more than all the money she had made through deceit. Because real success isn't measured by how fast you rise. It's measured by how long you stand. Let me tell you something important. In this life, we all face pressure. Bills pile up. Rent is due. Family is struggling. Competition is tough. And when you're desperate, shortcuts start to look like solutions. But here's the truth. Shortcuts are traps. They might work for a week, a month, or even a year. But they will always collapse. And when they do, they'll take everything with them, your reputation, your peace, your future. Deborah had real talent. She could have made it the right way. But fear pushed her into darkness. And it almost destroyed her. If you're building something, a business, a career, a dream, build it on truth. Build it on integrity. Build it on value. Yes, it will take longer. Yes, it will be harder. Yes, you might feel like everyone else is moving faster than you. But when you finally succeed, it will be solid. It will be lasting. And it will be something you can be proud of. Don't sacrifice your name for temporary gain. Don't poison others for your own progress. Don't let desperation turn your gift into a weapon. Because at the end of the day, slow success with peace is better than fast success with regret. If this story touched your heart, if it taught you something, or if it reminded you to stay on the right path, I need you to do 3 things for me. First, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't wait. We're building a community of people who believe in real stories with real lessons, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Second, smash the like button. It helps this story reach more people who need to hear it. Third, drop a comment below. Tell me what you learned from Deborah's story. Have you ever been tempted to take a shortcut? How did you handle it? Let's talk. I read every single comment. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, maybe they're building a business, maybe they're struggling, maybe they're tempted to compromise, share this video with them. You might just save them from making a mistake they'll regret forever. Thank you so much to every single one of you who's been rocking with me. To my returning viewers, my loyal subscribers, you are the reason this channel exists. I see you. I appreciate you. And I love you. So, stay locked in. Turn on post notifications. And let's keep growing together. I'll see you in the next story. Stay blessed. Stay honest. And remember, your gift will make room for you, but only if you protect it with integrity.